Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll open this meeting of the Page City Council regular meeting, December 10th, 2018, 6:30. If you'll all rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Councilor Bowlby, if you'll start us off on the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you do roll call, please?
Councillor Davis. Present. Councillor Yank.
Present.
Councillor Bowlby. Here. Councillor Cormier.
Present.
Councillor Warner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kojin.
Here.
Mayor Tappan.
Here. Priorities list. Does anyone have any discussion on the City Council's strategic priority list? And we have a date in January that we're going to be looking at that again. Did you all get that email? January 5th. We'll be going over those again. Okay, any councilors' individual priorities they'd like to talk about? All right, minutes.
Move to approve the minutes. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Number 7, the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent portion of the agenda. Second.
Motion is second. Anyone? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. In from the citizens. This time, if there's anyone that would like to speak on any non-agendized items, this is your time. Mr. Carey.
Hi, Brian Carey, 1500 Westview Drive. A couple of times over the past few months, the topic of vagrancy, homelessness, public drunkenness has come up in our park planning meetings for the John C. Page Memorial Park redesign, at the downtown revitalization meetings. When I staffed with my wife at the balloon regatta, I watched a lady drink her lunch and then drink her breakfast rather, and then fall into a nearby planter to go to sleep. The way home from a meeting just last week, there was somebody passed out across from Windy Mesa, and it seems like it keeps coming up in various conversations, and yet I don't know whether we've tried to address it in any kind of holistic manner in the city. So I just thought that might be a time now, as you guys go into strategic planning next year, whether it might rise to some kind of a priority. I don't want to see Page become some kind of armed camp or fenced out area, but then again, it doesn't seem right that we should spend a lot of energy at these major planning efforts in our downtown revitalization and for the main city park, trying to figure out how to deal with vagrancy. It's not a one solution issue, and it's not something we can pawn off to law enforcement, but perhaps with a group effort, it might be something that could be tackled. And a couple ideas occurred to me as to some sources for discussion and maybe solutions, and the city does have a substance abuse task force. I don't know what their agenda has been in the past. I know they've been involved in youth education and that type of attacking an issue, but perhaps they could be tasked with starting conversations. I know when I was involved with the Page Community Foundation, we rarely saw any requests for grants that might tackle that, but that's certainly a spot that the town could find some funding as well. So just bring that up. Maybe it's the time of year, or maybe it's just because it keeps getting mentioned, but I thought I would bring that to the council's attention. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business. We're going to start with our new business. Item number 1, we would like to show our appreciation to Mayor Dyak. If anyone wants to say a few words, I got a few words, but if anyone else wanted to say anything. Mayor Dyak is a man of integrity, honor, and loyalty, and he did a lot of good where good needed to be done. So if the council will join me down front, we're going to give him a award. We have a couple of executive sessions on the agenda, as we like to do.
New business 2.
Thank you. New business number 2, discussion and possible action pertaining to the phone system upgrade. Kane.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Come to you this evening for approval on upgrading the existing phone system. The existing phone system is about 10 years old. It's end of life. They don't actually support it or make any more equipment for it anymore. So the biggest issue is if something fails, we might be in a hurt. So the good news is with this new system, it allows us to take advantage of our existing connectivity, which will allow me to disconnect several of our lease lines and start saving the city about $1,000 to $1,500 a month. So it's a good payback for replacing it. Also, because of the system being outdated, the existing company is actually going to purchase some of that equipment back from us, just so they have kind of some spare stuff for people who can't upgrade. So that saves us about $25,000 in the upgrade process too. So, any questions?
Move to approve the phone system upgrade for $46,728.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passed unanimously. Okay, we have no bid awards.
I just had a quick question. Did you know what type of phone system you're going to?
Sure, we're just actually upgrading our existing phone system, which is the NEC phone system. So,
Okay, thank you.
all right.
So we have. Yep, so we have 3 executive sessions, but we'd like to move those to the end if no one is opposed to that. And we'll do, there's the business from council. And 16.1, we talked about Ryan Hill's employment agreement last time, but we didn't make a motion for me to sign his contract. So we just need to finish up some parliamentary procedure there.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute Brian T. Hill's employment agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You still there, Mark?
Yeah, that's an aye out of me.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Boards and commissions, are there any board liaison reports? I think.
We had a Parks and Rec Board meeting on Monday. The chairman's here. There was a full agenda. We tackled a number of things coming before the Park and Rec Board. There will be some items moving forward from that meeting that'll come before council, I'm assuming within the next week or two, the next meeting or two. Brian, do you want to add anything?
I don't have any specific items. I have talked with Dugan and with the mayor about the possibility in the new year of having an update for the whole council and maybe a work session or something on where you've come so far, which is quite a good distance, and where we still need to go in terms of implementing the citywide parks master plan. Some exciting things underway, but as you can see, a lot of groundbreaking all around town, and hopefully in the new year we'll see some finished products.
That board's a very active board and very engaged, and there's a lot of things going on around the town, and like Brian said, with the John C. Page Memorial Park final development, will be forthcoming with a report regarding the corrals operation and just a whole number of issues. But I think that we'll just let it be like that, and then the agenda items will address those as they come forward.
Thank you. And we have no claims, so I'm going to read the executive sessions here.
Excuse me, departments. 1.
16.1, discussion possible action by City Council pertaining to capital improvements project update.
Good evening, Mayor Tappan, members of the Page City Council. I'm Kyle Christiansen, Director of Public Works for the City of Page, as many of you know. It seemed a little bit easier to open up that way. What Public Works has before you today is just kind of an update on some of the capital improvement projects that we have going on throughout the community, and then also additionally what's going on at the airport, since Public Works does oversee operations and improvements there as well. So if you follow along with me on the PowerPoint here, we are providing you with a capital improvements project update. What the City of Page Public Works Department does is we oversee the if you want to call it the operations of many of the projects. Generally, any project that exceeds $5,000 is considered a capital improvement. So within the city, we have 5 major projects going on right now. Of these projects that we have citywide, we have our Galliard Park ADA bathroom rehab, our skate park improvement at John C. Page Memorial Park. We also have the official John C. Page Memorial Park improvement, Horseshoe Bend Phase 2 improvements, and our Seals project fiscal year 19. As I mentioned, Public Works also covers over projects at the airport. Current projects we have right now is the airport master plan update, which technically isn't a capital improvements project, but it does lend to all the other capital improvement projects that will be going on over the next 10 years. Additionally, we have our taxiway safety improvements and our airport reconstruction design that's coming up. So I'm going to go through these items line by line, and I have some slides of some of the updates that are going on right now. I'm going to start with kind of our smallest project that we have that's contracted out right now is our Galliard Park ADA bathroom rehab. As many of you know, and as some of you don't know, this project is funded through a CDBG, Central Block Development Grant. The city acquired, and the grant represents $323,000. Of that, $56,000 was placed towards the ADA bathroom improvements. This grant is administered through the Arizona Department of Housing. Currently, this project is on schedule. I spoke with the contractor this morning. He anticipates, without any unforeseen items and working through his punch list, he's going to be 100% complete with this project at the end of the week. This project includes an ADA pathway going from the existing ADA parking to the new playground, and then also providing smooth ADA access to the Galliard bathroom itself. We anticipate, of course, I mentioned the project will be complete, so at the time of this PowerPoint that I put together, I had in there December 2018, it will be completed this month. So here's a representation of one of the aspects of that project, which was the sidewalk that connects the ADA parking to the new playground. It also incorporates a little bit of connectivity to a further picnic table down. That is not an ADA picnic table. We do have an ADA picnic area in the park already. As I mentioned, it's got the ADA access to the bathroom there. And then what's going on inside the bathroom, I'll provide you with the before. What we've done is we've taken the bathrooms, instead of having male and female, we worked with the architect and have 2 unisex bathrooms that are installed. So we removed many of the plumbing fixtures and installing single stalls, single lavatory, baby changing station, and hand dryer. So on the right you see kind of it torn down completely. Walls are primered and ready for new paint and partitions going up. And on the left here we have the near completed project: fresh paint, new LED light fixtures, new partitions, stainless steel toilet, stainless steel sink, push button faucets on there, and of course we have hand dryers that were installed. All these things were items that were in the bathroom beforehand, and so we replaced those and upgraded those using the grant. Our next project that kind of ticks up the scale and cost is our skate park project. We worked in conjunction with Spone Ranch, which is a skate park design build firm. We went through qualifications with them previously in the year and worked on design throughout the community. That did involve community input that we ended up with our design. This project currently has a completion time of February 2019. It is behind schedule. And we've had a few issues in there, namely working with the contractor and getting their crews here. Provided you some ideas of what's going on. If you haven't driven by the park, they've actually made quite a bit of headway over the last couple of weeks with the excavation. What you see here is you see the coping for what they call the snake run that goes through the park. It's from the top of the coping on the level sides. That run is about 5 feet deep. And you're actually looking at what they've dubbed the horseshoe bend. Along with that is a kidney pool. Has 2 deep bowls for skateboarding. They from the top of the coping there, I use the guy as a point of reference. That's a little over 8 feet deep from the top of coping to the bottom of the pit. There'll be 7 feet of elevation change in there. Another view of that pool in there. And it steps up to a more beginner's depth of about 5 feet. As I mentioned, we did experience some delays in topography. They did find some rock in there. Public Works did provide assistance in there with a piece of equipment and operator to help keep some of those costs down so that they wouldn't be coming up with crazy change orders about rock. We did provide them with 10.5 hours of labor and equipment to kind of get them through the issues of the rock there. So they're progressing ahead quite nicely at this point. In discussions with them, they anticipate weather permitting to start spraying concrete hopefully within the next week or 2 on these areas that they've excavated out. Our next project, which is also at John C. Page, is the John C. Page Memorial Park improvements. If you recall, this is the project where we're expanding the parking lot for the community center, providing a little bit additional parking for the park itself. We have pedestrian paths that go through the park. This project came in at about, the bid was a little over $800,000 for all items included. We have J&J Engineers, our contractor. As I mentioned, it provides expanded parking for the community center and for the park itself. We will have a lighted pedestrian path throughout the park. This project is on schedule and is tracking appropriately with an anticipated completion date in January. There may be a little bit of ebb and flow due to weather, as you can all imagine. But the J&J Engineering has actually been very easy to work with, very accommodating to our schedules, our wants and desires, and likewise we do our best to help them out. Public Works has provided grubbing assistance to them. Go and remove the sod and salvage that for other future projects. And then wherever needed, we remove irrigation that may be in contradiction with some of the parking areas, and then we'll be going back and putting that in. So map on the council members, it's going to be a little bit small, but some of you have seen this plan. This is the layout for the park improvement with the expanded parking lot and the connector sidewalk. I will point out that right now they have completed the sidewalk from the North Lake Powell Boulevard side, which is in the upper right corner of the plan, all the way to South Navajo, which is along the parking lot as you see there. And they'll begin working going across the parking lot. And they're doing their best to keep the park open, so they're not stretching the fence out, completely cutting off pedestrian access. They'll kind of work themselves out, as I call it the inchworm effect. They go out 100 feet, prep and pour concrete, move the fences, and go another 100 feet and kind of work their way out. And we are working with them. We provide the grub work where we're doing our best to salvage the turf and save that out of the cemetery for replanting. We've got some pictures. This photograph was taken early on in the project after it's been grubbed and just scraped clean. Image of the 18-inch Type A curb that's running. This is an image looking back from the kind of northwest corner back towards the high school. They just stripped the forms on that and getting that work done. This is the sidewalk section. They started at South Navajo and started working towards the parking lot that they have and kind of getting that work out all lined out for us. Our next project that Public Works is watching over and overseeing is the Horseshoe Bend Phase 2, which many of you are well aware of. Provided in that slide kind of the general look of what that parking lot's going to be like. We have B4 Enterprises as our contractor. The project began on November 5th with an estimated completion in May 2019. There'll be various slides here. This is the south parking lot that's still currently in existence. This kind of shows you our need. This parking lot's full, and then we don't see our tour buses in there, but that's a full parking lot, and that's the limitations of what we have right now. So we've stressed with the contractor to be diligent about putting this project together. Progress photos. So if you're standing at Highway 89 and you're looking towards the old north parking lot, this would be the view as you come in on the entrance. They start to lay material down. Right along the silt fence there is where the entry road will curve in. As you head down into the first bend, you can see the material that they've placed in there, working themselves up. And then this view would be where the new fee booths will be. Their schedule right now is showing that they're going to start construction on those fee booths this week. I haven't had a complete conversation with the contractor. That is tracking per schedule. They anticipate that they're going to be pouring footers this week for those fee booths. So they're pushing work right along. A lot of what you see here, this is a view looking back towards P-Rock. They've imported about 2/3 of the 22,000 yards of material that needs to be imported for this project, and that they've been working diligently through the night, bringing a lot of that material in at night to avoid some of the traffic. They just recently switched over to daytime work so that they can keep up with other construction schedules and get their subcontractors in there to assist them in some of the work. I provided this image to get you an idea. If you've been out there before, we had our north parking lot. You can see the edge of the pavement there in that image. They've actually peeled back about 24 feet of that wrap material that we had in there to establish the previous temporary parking lot. So they've shrunk that existing parking lot down and started working on getting that infill put in. Again, this project is tracking so far so good that they're on schedule, and we have an anticipated completion of the fee booths in March so that we can open those fee booths on April 1st as outlined in the contract. Our other project that affects more of the community here as a whole is our Seals project. Our Seals project fiscal year 19. This is our big streets project that Public Works came before the council earlier in the summer to establish. We have VSS International is providing the slurry work on this project. It began on October 24th, and they have an anticipated completion of April 30th, 2019. They have had a few weather-related issues. Hasn't really slowed the progress of the project overall in terms of the schedule. They were hoping to lay slurry material down this fall. Because of the temperatures, they've not been able to do that. But in the interim, they've been able to do the prep work for next spring's slurry work. And some of that prep work has been crack sealing. as you've seen around in the ranchettes, also in the Tower Butte Estates, up around 20th Avenue and Grandview, down through Thunderbird, Red Mesa, those areas that they've been doing crack sealing on. They've placed approximately 67,500 pounds, or 33 tons, of crack seal in the community in preparation. Additionally, what they're doing is they're doing edge milling, where they take the mill machine down the sides of the curb and gutter, and they're milling out a 1-inch reveal and going from 1 inch to 0, depending on the surface of the asphalt. This will allow them to lay in the Type 2 and Type 3 materials. Those get built up to about 1 inch. The idea is that we have a flush finished surface that rolls right into that gutter, so we're not holding water or any shape like that, and not giving that big 1-inch lip that some people are unfamiliar with when traveling some of our streets, and they'll catch you if you're not paying attention as you steer down the streets. A little bit of what that looks like, the edge mill, the edge profiling, and with the crack sealing. They've been able to get the Ranchettes neighborhood primarily with the edge mill and the crack sealing done complete and ready for surfacing. They've worked through other neighborhoods around the community. So on this, of course, on your screens, it's pretty small, but this is our map of what we're doing for Type 2 and Type 3 slurry seals throughout the community, as spelled out in the diagram in the bid specs. So you're seeing we're getting a lot of the community. It's about 17 miles of street surfacing that we're having maintained at this point, and that involves various areas of edge mill, involves crack sealing, wide mastic crack sealing, Type 2, Type 3 surfacing, and a combination of both of those. It also includes patchwork, asphalt patchwork, any concrete issues with our ADA radiuses. We've included that in the bid, and they have yet to come up with any, but we do have 12 that Public Works identified. Additionally, in this map, this is a progress map to date. I know it doesn't look that impressive, but it is quite a bit of prep work. So if you can start with the Ranchettes neighborhood, the red is the edge profiling, the blue is the crack sealing. You see how that crack sealing conveys up to Sage Avenue, through some of the areas in north of the airport and around Thunderbird and Red Mesa and those areas in there. Additionally, the orange is where they've done asphalt and concrete patchwork over in the Bureau District. So they're doing a lot of, like I said, a lot of this work that they anticipate doing in the spring is prep work for those sections they've jumped in and done this fall. Spoke with the contractor this morning. They feel very confident about making that completion date. There's no issues foreseen there. I know I'm getting long, so I'll kind of speed this up a little bit. Our airport capital improvements, or our ASIPs, that the Public Works also oversees. I don't have a lot of slides here, so this is just verbatim for you, but we have our airport master plan update. Process is about an 18-month process, and will provide us with a 10-year update that'll take us into 2029, if I've done my math right. And that gives us that'll be updating the airport layout plan, which will kind of tell us the direction of some of the projects that we'll be gearing towards in the future, and how that's guided with the FAA and how our grants work on those improvements. Additionally, we have our taxiway safety improvement project. This project is currently in design, but will be going to construction here fiscal year 2020 for the FAA. What this does is we've identified a few areas along our taxiway that do not allow for wider wingspan aircraft, for those periodic aircraft, where large aircraft that we get in. They're having to back taxi on the runway right now to make the ramps, and they can't use the taxiway from the north end or from the south end of runway 33 up to the terminal. So we're looking at a project right now that's in design with the FAA ASIP grants to lay back some of that grade work and help us overcome that, so that we can keep those aircraft on the taxiway as needed. Additionally, we have our apron reconstruction project. This one also is in design right now with CNS companies. It's our consulting engineer. We anticipate that construction process to happen in fiscal year 2021. So with that, my long-winded speech, I'll jump back to my last thing. All projects for the airport are funded with FAA AIP grants. So the city only puts up 2.5% in local match. So we get $2.50 per every 100 we get from the FAA. The city has to come up with. So there's time for questions.
Real quick question for you.
Sure.
Because I know nothing about roads, and being part of the community, at least myself personally, I hear a lot of questions about the roads. What is the difference between why the slurry is not being done, but the parking lot for the John C. Page Memorial Master Plan being done?
That's a good question. And for parking lot asphalt, it's a different grade or different spec, which can be, we're not going to have high traffic, high speed, so it can be a different spec as far as, thickness and quality. So it can be laid on unfrosted ground at 40 degrees and rising.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Now, to answer your other question on the slurry, I'll add that in. The slurry contains a water and is mixed with the oil, and that water has to evaporate out. And generally with the slurry, if it's too cold, that moisture will actually freeze before it evaporates out. And on a type 2 slurry, in normal conditions, it can be recommended anywhere from 6 to 24 hours for that moisture to evaporate out. And you can see how that moisture could actually freeze in the product and cause problems with it not adhering to the asphalt surface properly.
Thank you.
Hey, Kyle, this is Mark Cormier. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I just have a quick question about the parking at Horseshoe Bend currently with the one lot closed due to construction. How are we doing on parking after the at post-holiday now? Are we can we keep up with it, or do we still need more capacity?
We're always looking at capacity, Councilor Cormier. In working with the city manager, we're coming up with some ideas to see how we can alleviate the Christmas crunch. But currently, at the aftermath of Thanksgiving parking, it's actually been quite calm and quiet out there. We haven't had really any parking lot-related issues with overcapacity or parking on Highway 89 at this time. But we anticipate that we may run into that condition, so we're working on some ideas right now.
Okay. I guess where I was going with this, just a question for council in general, is are we able to use that overflow lot off of Elm and 6th Avenue? Are we able to use that, or is that just a dead lot right now?
Off of Elm and 6th Avenue, I think I'll redirect you back to the city manager on that question.
Mayor and council, we're currently working on that contingency plan right now. We're taking a look at a borrow pit on 98 as well, providing us a little bit more some capacity, and we're going through that study right now as I'm speaking. We've actually been with a work group involving our partners as to how we would manage that from traffic flow control, and we're also looking at other options on how we're going to provide the shuttle service from the borrow pit versus the corner section of 6th and Navajo.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the only reason I'm asking is, are we able to run those buses we had envisioned from the original for sale parking lot, or do we need to rethink that as you're doing? I've had citizens ask me about, are we going to reopen that for sale lot? I guess that's where I'm going with that.
That has not been discussed at this time. I think we're just looking at the alternative for the traffic for the shuttle service, but we have not brought that conversation back to for discussion.
Okay. I just think it's worth a formalized discussion. That's all I'm saying.
Will do.
Thank you.
If that's it, I want to thank you, Kyle. You're doing
You're welcome.
an awesome job at Public Works over there. Alrighty. Executive sessions? Executive session 14.1, pursuant to ARS 38431.03A1, discussion or consideration of employment for tourism director. Executive session 14.2, ARS 38-431.03A4, former police chief Malcolm. And 18.2, executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A7. City land located on Clubhouse Drive between Marriott Hotel and Lake Powell National Golf Course parking lot.
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into all three executive sessions consecutively.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Adjourn from here. Adjourn from our regular meeting. Huh?
You don't have to adjourn, we'll just go on.
5-minute break and we'll start an executive session.